NunesMagician. He set up for
Hello and welcome to a Sweet 16 version of Troy Nunes is an Absolute Livestream. Inconsequential as always, I'm Steve Haller. Here's Andy Pregler and Christian de Guzman. How we doing, guys?
We found John Rothstein's new tweet for Syracuse. Syracuse basketball, more inconsequential than a weekend at your in-laws.
Oh, wait.
Wait, is that going to be the new t-shirt? I can think of no better way to possibly kick off Apology Tour 3.0 with than you folks. So what are we thinking about what just happened these past... Well, I guess let's back it up to the past week. Andy, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah.
I mean that screen cap of Andy's face is all you need to know about the past week, just in general.
Yeah.
The crazy thing to me is that we started this week off with us three and Sarah joining us, talking about how the women had a really difficult draw with South Dakota State because they had kicked the teeth in of the last time, and they'll have to play UConn if they win. We were talking about how San Diego State was a terrible matchup for all the things that they brought to the table, and if they won, they were probably going to play a West Virginia team that would dominate Syracuse in ways that other teams had exploited all year. And here we are, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on a Sunday night, and the men have reached the Sweet 16, and the women dropped the hammer on the Jackrabbits. And it's not that we're questioning everything that we know. It's just that these things that us three analytically minded people, like it was in the realm of possibility that this would happen. It was just on the one extreme that you write off as like, this is the statistically irrelevant part of it. But as we have learned, for those who do not follow our friend James Zuba, our basketball beat writer, these things that we deem as inconsequential, well, apparently Jim Boeheim agrees. Because Jim Boeheim, on the criticism of Syracuse this year, quote, "I don't hear it because it's from people that are inconsequential. All the stuff on the internet, not one sentence on the internet matters. And if that is not the mantra of this show, I don't know what else is. Jim Boeheim, I know you're never going to listen. I know you're not going to read the article. But listen, dude, I don't know what else to say anymore. The best thing that I have, and Christian, you can kind of talk about from the San Diego perspective and the West Virginia perspective. Like that meme that somebody posted of Patrick Starr with like the nail drilled into his forehead of this is every coach that runs at the 2-3 zone. Tom Crean, shout out home field. Tom Izzo, Buzz Williams.
Okay, it's not just people named Tom. We're good.
It's a coach in West Virginia who coached against Jim Boeheim in the conference, who has 900 career wins, and the pregame show was all centered around whether or not Bob Huggins should be in the college basketball hall or should be in the basketball hall of fame. This is not a dumb basketball coach. His team forgot how to play against the zone for 20 minutes in a do-or-die game. Christian, we saw it for 3.5 halves. Teams just can't figure out the zone in March. I don't get it.
And let's look at Syracuse's last two dumb runs in the NCAA tournament, 2016 and 2018. Who were Syracuse eliminated by in those two tournaments? ACC schools. That should tell you all you need to know. And to add on to that point as well, in 2018, who was Syracuse's first round matchup? It was against TCU, with Jamie Dixon, who not 3 years prior had faced the Syracuse zone for what felt like 500 games. And he still
won 498 of those games.
Exactly. And he couldn't get TCU to figure out how to attack the zone. It took Bob Huggins 28 minutes to figure out how to attack the zone against Syracuse, which is amazing. And it took San Diego State had a week to prepare for this Syracuse team.
Yep.
It's more than enough time, and there's plenty of tape this year on how to beat the Syracuse team. But when you saw that, I think the big part, the reason why the zone worked, and I wrote about it a little bit in my takeaways today on the site, is that the pressure that was put on the high post meant that the decision for the guy at the high post was infinitely harder, whether to pass or shoot. And unfortunately for the guys in the high post, most of the time the guys that were being put there were scorers and not passers. And that's what happened with West Virginia when they put their passer, number 3 on West Virginia, when they put him in the high post. That's what allowed West Virginia to get some of its offense going again. But when San Diego State had Matt Mitchell in the top of the post, and when they had Derek Culver at the top of the post, those are score first guys. Those aren't pass first guys. And Syracuse prefers it if you have score first guys in the high post, because those are low percentage shots. And if they're going to drive to the hoop, they trust Marek and Jesse enough to stop them. And the pressure and the help came defense as well. So the reason why Syracuse, this 2-3 zone worked is because the guys weren't playing in the high post. Teams tried to shoot over the zone, which we know in NCAA tournament, anything can happen. And both West Virginia and San Diego State had bad days shooting the 3 ball, at least in the beginning for West Virginia anyway. And they tried to pass around the zone also, which just didn't work for West Virginia as well. And so, like, the strategies that they're trying to attack the zone with just clearly weren't working, and clearly were the wrong decisions to make here in the tournament.
Yeah, Steve, I want to kind of throw it over to you because one of the things that I thought was really interesting about this weekend for the men's team was that we saw them do a lot of things that we as like a NunesMagician group had advocated for. One of those
Or inconsequential, it doesn't matter.
we were inconsequential. Yet Marek Dolezaj played some point forward. To which all of us immediately hit you up. I start with Marek and then move from there. But like this weekend was Jim Boeheim just pulling out the Swiss Army knife of things that like we told you you had that tool, but you just figured out how to open it on the Swiss Army knife.
Right, and. I can't tell if Boeheim's playing 5D chess with us or what the deal is, because like he had to have known that tool was in the knife. I'm sure they ran some plays for that tool in practice. However, he decided to just open it up, yesterday, Friday, and today. There was one moment. It was just so simple as Dolezaj was sitting on the low block, caught an entry pass and just quick redirected it to Gary A. slashing or Richmond slashing. I can't remember who it was.
It was Gary.
Oh yeah, it was Gary A. on that Thunder dunk.
Yeah.
And it was just this quick redirect that he saw that was like, you have anybody else standing on that low block, they're not going to make that pass. And then you come, Friday, he's legitimately playing point forward, and I'm sitting there like, am I imagining this? Like, I don't think I had that many beers.
It's like Boeheim saw Cameron Krutwig for Loyola Chicago. I can do that too. I can do that too.
Yeah, it's mildly insane, but yes, the whole fact that his versatility, and I was legitimately worried when we ended up when he picked up his 4th foul on that wonderful charge call, which was a legit charge, but like, come on, Marek, you're better than that. The whole, like, when he got that fourth foul, I was like, oh boy, like, I'm fine with Edwards in there, he's holding it down, but it definitely changes the tempo of the offense, the versatility of the offense without another passing option on the floor, especially one in the spaces that he's in. That said, he came back in and made a difference after, I hope Edwards' face is okay, because there was a lot of butterflying going on there. So, I don't know. Overall, I just figure I'm going to rant for a little bit about Marek Dolezaj, because that's just the brand at this point.
Well, I want to rant about Kaderi, which is the brand at this point from everybody. But also Brooklyn kid, I'm going to support this guy no matter what. He in that San Diego State game was hitting threes, which is not part of his game at all. And we will get to Buddy Boeheim. For all of you who are like, why haven't you mentioned Buddy Boeheim's game yet? We will get to Buddy Joseph Bucket Boeheim. Do not worry about him.
It's Jackson, I think.
Buddy Jackson Bucket Boeheim. We will get to him. For Kaderi, he did not play a ton of his West Virginia game. Christian, I'm going to toss that up on a silver platter to you after this fact, is that the San Diego State game, that team came out ball pressuring, face guarding, like you were in a freaking rec league series to no one's belief, and it was working. The difference is that one they pulled Gerard and put Kaderi in. And his slashing ability and his ability to drive off the ball opened everything up, which is what we've been saying all year for so many opponents. And secondly, Buddy Boeheim went into NBA Jam on fire mode, where it did not matter if you had three guys face guarding him, he was going to make a shot. But Christian, Kaderi did not play as much in the West Virginia game, which was a little bit weird. But overall, like he had himself a pretty solid weekend.
So you say that before we get to Kadari, you say that San Diego State was face guarding like they were directly. So you're saying that they were guarding like they were lunchtime YMCA. So Syracuse was comfortable in that San Diego State game. It all makes sense now.
Wheels within wheels, man.
Exactly.
But just call us Orange and On.
But let's get to Kadari Richmond because it felt like a while before Kadari Richmond saw the floor in the second half. And to all those who are watching, before you go look up before I tell you when he came in the second half, take a mental guess in your head when he came into the game in the second half. You got it? Okay. It was 8 minutes and 21 seconds left on the game clock when he finally came into the game in the second half. And when Dolezaj picked up his second foul with his fourth foul, with 14 minutes and 56 seconds left in the second half, that's a good 6-minute period where Joe Girard was your point guard. And West Virginia noticed that and said, let's double the hell out of Joe Girard. And so that stagnated the offense. It was the reason why West Virginia came back in the game because Syracuse just couldn't get the buckets that it needed to increase its lead. And then Sean McNeil had some great shots, but the ball just didn't move for Syracuse. They stayed stagnant on the perimeter. They stopped driving because the ball just wasn't moving because of pressure. And Kadari being on the bench is something that was a missed opportunity because that Syracuse could have easily broken the pressure that was coming and could have easily gotten the ball moving with just him being on the floor. And you saw that because once he got on the floor and then Dolezaj went to point, he was moving well in concert with Dolezaj to create some open passing lanes off ball and to actually make the extra pass himself as well in order to get the open Raspberry three and the Thunder Perrier dunk that would make momentum shifts for Syracuse. But Kadari's passing, as we've said, is kind of the key that unlocks Syracuse offense. And when you have him and Dolezaj on the floor, it just takes Syracuse's offense to levels. And that's why we were so worried when Dolezaj picked up that foul because you were afraid you were going to lose that part of the offense. But now with both of them on the floor, you saw the offense get rolling again. That's when you saw Buddy Boeheim start getting some of the threes that he wanted. Sean McNeil had to switch onto him, and he started driving on McNeil because he could take him easily. It wasn't Miles face guarding him. Putting Kadari on the floor opened up so many other options for Syracuse that weren't there before when Girard was on the floor. Andy, I think
you're muted.
I am muted. Thank you very much. I had the hiccups and I had to work through that. I was talking about guys coming off the bench. Alan Griffin did not get a ton of run in either of these games. He got 11 minutes in the West Virginia game. He only got 15 minutes in the San Diego State game. And we all kind of saw why. The guy is in a cold streak. He's overthinking things. He's overthinking on defense. He's just not. He's not there right now. Maybe in a later game with a week off, he'll get there. But with Alan Griffin out, that means you have to have somebody else in there. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but Robert Braswell, big bad Robbie Braswell, played 25 minutes in the San Diego State game. He played 29 minutes in this West Virginia game. He is a bona fide starter at this point. Like, he is playing so many minutes.
There was a great picture. Because I know Steve will want to talk about Braswell and his amazing stuff. But before we get there, there's a great picture tweeted by CBS Sports about how good Syracuse's zone was in the first half. and it was kind of like showing like Syracuse's zone has players everywhere, but they copy and pasted one player to the zone to just fill the entire half court, and that player was Braswell. So I immediately tweeted 70% of the earth is covered by water, and the rest is covered by Robert Braswell, because it only makes sense, especially with the way he plays defense.
It's logic. And in all honesty, the reason that Syracuse opened up and, was able to extend that lead in the San Diego State game, when even in the stretches when Buddy was on the bench, was because you had the combination of Kadari Richmond, Big Bad Bobby Braswell, and Jesse Edwards, another unsung hero of this tournament run. This is turning into the postseason stretch where the boys become men.
Yeah.
Like all the guys where we're like, I wish we'd have seen a little bit more of them all year. They're showing up to play, and we're kind of riding their back at this point, and it's working. I mean, not to discount what Mr. Buckets has done.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, I think this is the point where we're 15 minutes into this conversation. We gotta bring up Buddy Buckets Boeheim, which Jim Nance officially said, so now it is therefore canon into the American psyche.
And when that happened, my wife looked at me and said, "Did he just call him Buddy Buckets?"
Yep.
Like, there was legitimately a stretch in this 24-hour period where we got a new dog, and we were like, I refer to my son as Buddy often, and my wife was like, well, we can't call him Buddy, we call the kid Buddy, so maybe we call him Buckets? And then I was like, oh, call him Bucky, because then I can cross it with Winter Soldier and, like, going full circle. But he ended up being...
Or just call him Jackson Thomas Boeheim.
Neither of those ended up being his name. However, the fact that Nance spouted that on the air, has brought that into the Syracuse psyche of, Buddy Buckets. Rolls right off the tongue.
And this was a tale of two games. The first San Diego State game was, I have the full NBA Jam fire meter going. You will not stop me. Period. Like, he was just in the zone. He said at pregame. We saw the postgame post where he was talking about just like, it was the same thing that we had heard, not to make this comparison, but everyone's making this comparison. Like what McNamara said before the national championship game. Like, I feel good. I feel like I got it. Give me the ball. And shooters are going to have those moments where things click in warm-ups and it's just going to fire. This West Virginia game was a very different type of game. And this is the game where, for me personally, as somebody who I will raise my hand, I will make the mea culpa right now, I will go to church, I will do the confessions. I ragged on Buddy more times than not this season due to his lack of athleticism at the top of the zone, due to a lot of opportunities settling for bad threes instead of using his size to back down defenders and drive to the ball, or drive to the rim with the ball. That West Virginia game that we just watched was him saying, like, okay, the three's not hitting for me the way it was last night. I'm going to find other ways to get into my mojo, watch the ball go through the net, and then unlock these other pieces of my game. That is not a level of maturity I thought he had. It's clear that he does. It's clear that he is the Syracuse offense. He's the straw that stirs the string. And I never thought that I would say that about Buddy. And Christian, you were the one that brought my attention because I didn't, off the top of my head, only 3 points in the first half, and he had a 25-point night.
Exactly, and he was 1 of 6 in that first half also. And so when you consider that he was 8 of 17 to finish the game, that means he went 5 of 11 in the second half, which is pretty good. And the Kadari switch helped as well, because bringing Kadari in, like I said, put Miles McBride on him, which meant that McNeil had to cover Boeheim, and the switch wasn't made quickly enough for West Virginia that Boeheim started backing him down, as Raftery said on the broadcast, because Boeheim found a mismatch and then ISO'd on McNeil because he realized he could take McNeil wherever he wanted. And that's where he got going inside. And as we've said, Steve especially has said on the site, Buddy's inside game is such an underutilized part of his basketball game, because he is really, really good when when he puts the ball on the floor and dribbles. That's a skill set that has kind of gone missing ever since Tyus and O'Shea and Frank graduated. There hasn't been a go-to player that can put the ball on the floor and take it to the rim. And you're starting to see that with Buddy as he gets more confidence with that. Kadari is kind of that player as well. He'll have to cut down on some of the turnovers, but adding that part of the game and not making him the Klay Thompson post-up shooter whenever you want makes him a better basketball player for Syracuse. And now you're starting to see as well, especially with the tournament spotlight, there are scouts that are interested who are watching at the next level.
Yeah, and if you'd have asked me at the beginning of this year who that guy that could put the ball on the floor would be, there's a snowball's chance in hell that I was going to say, Buddy is going to be that guy. Alas, here we are, and you watch the development of his non-perimeter game, and it's been astounding. Like, it started to emerge the end of last year. Beginning of this year, it was there, kind of, and then it just has kicked into high gear these last couple of games. And especially kind of how we, mentioned Guerrier's offense gets better when Dolezaj's on the floor, because you don't have someone clogging the paint all the time. Because, no offense to Edwards, he's not really operating anywhere besides under the basket. You put, Dolezaj in there, and he can stretch his defender, open up that lane a little, and you get your other two people that want to play in the paint in there. So it's great to see that it's actually working, for lack of a better description. Like, it was something that a lot of people, like all of us, had seen. Like, this helps the offense, but for it to kind of be the cog that's pushing the offense forward is just, it's great to see. We found a little next gear there.
And before we get to you, Andy, I just want to point out something that James tweeted out from Boeheim's press conference.
Yes.
He said that Boeheim says that Syracuse has a lot of hard workers in the past, and he mentions Trevor Cooney being one of them, but he says that no one has worked harder than Buddy Boeheim, which should just go to attest how much Buddy has evolved in his time at Syracuse. For him to be recognized by his dad as a harder worker than Trevor Cooney is astounding.
Yeah, that's the part, that's something that, like, I wanted to bring up here, and I wanted to quote Quincy Guerrier was somebody who I thought showed a lot of heart in this game. He got his lunch handed to him in that San Diego State game. He went up against Mensah, and Mensah was just more physical, more strong, was just a better overall player, and Guerrier was pretty anonymous in that game. And then he came out tonight, and I think he had 4 rebounds in the first, 2.5 minutes or so of the game. It was that guy was battling against another guy. I forget the West Virginia player's name. It's not Sullinger, but I'm scarred by that Ohio State.
Yeah,
I'm scarred by that Ohio State run. So therefore,
thanks for bringing that one back.
Yeah, Culver.
Yeah,
Jarrett Culver.
And Culver was averaging, if I remember correctly, over 9 rebounds per game, and he only had 3 today.
And that was the part that, we had all talked about in the Slack ahead of time, was that West Virginia was a bad matchup because they had the dominant big man that has destroyed Quincy and other Syracuse players all this year. You just pass it to the big guy, and he's able to rip apart the zone. You're not able to really do anything about it because nobody on this team can match up. And Quincy came out in these first 5 minutes and said, "Nah, tonight's not going to be the night where that happens with me." And overall, I think Culver probably played a more physical and a better overall game than Quincy, taking the full 40 minutes into account. But in that first half, when it really mattered, when Syracuse built the lead that ultimately allowed them to hold on, he was the superior player. And and that feeds into the point that I wanted to get to, was that the energy of this team is totally different than what we've seen all year. And I understand, for those of you who are saying, why don't they bring this intensity all year? Why are they not playing like this for the 25 games that they play in a regular season? I'm with you. I'm a little bit frustrated by that. However, right now, they're getting back on defense. You've got Kadari Marek and Alan Griffin going for blocks on every single transition layup that is happening. and they're getting them more times than not. You watch the bench and guys that you've seen this year who have been like Alan Griffin's a perfect example, who sits on the bench more than he plays as a starter. During the regular season, he's kind of on the bench. He's pouting. He's not exactly happy to be there. This tournament, he is the first person up out of the huddle. Same thing with John Bull Ajak. They're the first people out of every huddle to celebrate the team, to keep the morale up. And it is super dumb cliche to say, but like this team just has every single piece that you want of a team to make a dumb NCAA run. And here we are at the end of the first weekend, and Syracuse is one of the 16 men's teams left standing.
I didn't notice this. Quincy had 5 blocks in this game.
Yeah.
I did not know that, but that also doesn't surprise me by the way that he was just living in the paint.
I mean, yeah. he had 5 blocks. Culver only had 7 points on 2 of 9 shooting. Like that needs to go to show you like how much of a non-factor he was in this game, and like that played a big part in why they won this game against West Virginia. Because like you said, Culver was supposed to be the guy that unlocked McBride and McNeil to have fun on the outside, but whenever he got the ball, he just got swarmed, as John said in the Slack. And it's so an apropos word because like everyone just collapsed on him and he couldn't get the ball out.
Yeah, it's weird because we have said it all year. This team has, and Andy, you kind of alluded to it, the team has all the pieces and we've seen through the whole year do, solid things and push them forward at individual points. It's kind of been a revolving door of who was going to be, player A, and it seems towards the end of the year they're morphing into, oh yeah, we can kind of go fluid on that, except for Buddy. Like Buddy has solidified himself as player 1 right now.
Yeah,
ready player 1.
Yeah.
It is just. Like, I'm watching with my wife, and she is a Syracuse fan in the sense of she'll watch the big games, and does not consume any external literature, any of the stuff that we write. Tried to work on that, not going to happen. But she's watching the game, and she's making the same observations that we are, which is a great reminder that like we're not crazy, we're not reading too much into things. It's a basic level, and for this game, it's just a like. She said the same thing. Like the energy level and their hustle after rebounds is just at a level that we've not seen yet this year, because 95% of the time, shot goes up, the zone is a little bit lax, they're not rebounding, they're not fighting for the balls, and this time around, like it's been phenomenal. And Jesse Edwards only played 7 minutes in this game, which is kind of wild considering how big of a role he played in the San Diego State game, but he's another guy that just comes off the bench and is fighting for rebounds and is going to the floor in a way that like I did not expect you to do this at any point in time this year.
Right.
The fact that Joe Girard and Buddy Boeheim had 9 rebounds combined and Girard had 6 with Boeheim having 3 is so important, because how many times have we wanted the guards to help on those offensive rebound chances for the opposing team, to deny those second chance points and for them to help out and collapse on the damn boards. And the San Diego State game, through the first 20 minutes, Girard was the leading rebounder for Syracuse, and like that's so important for Syracuse's success. Let's ignore the fact that they got out rebounded 41-29, because that was a lot of that was in the second half, but the guards helping out on the rebounds is another key factor as to why they're having success, is because the second chance points aren't coming, which is just so important.
Girard was the leading rebounder in the entire game against San Diego State, and
good.
He was tied. Joe Girard is the leading rebounder for the team in this entire tournament run. He has 12 rebounds. Again, my brain is, you're watching my brain literally start melting right now as this team just does things that we have wanted them to do all year. I think I'm going to save this for next week. I don't know what this team is going to do. If we are at this point next week, we're going to be talking about a Final Four run, which I am not saying is going to happen. That is absolutely dumb and insane. The 1 seed is out of this bracket for this region, but that's still a bridge too far that I'm not willing to go. But I do think that at some point in time, we need to have a conversation about the fact that Jim Boeheim is NBAing Syracuse in the sense that he is punting on the regular season, and this team is playing only for the postseason. Conversation for another night, because I think we need some more data points. I need to do some more research on the differentials that we're seeing between regular season and postseason. We are half an hour into this, and that means that I get to talk about the magic of the postseason that belongs to Home Field Apparel. West Virginia, you did not have a home field contract. Syracuse beat you. Illinois, you did not have a home field contract. Loyola beat you. It's not really that complicated to figure out. If you have a home field T-shirt, you're probably going to do okay.
Oh, the home field magic is alive and well. And also shout out to Connor for putting together that wonderful first day of the tourney video in his glorious magician's outfit. But
he is an absolute magician.
Yes, he is.
Roll credits.
Yeah,
that is the joke.
Wow.
I'll
leave that at that.
Home Field Apparel, if you did not know, is this brand based out of Indianapolis. So they are just rolling for all of this. Who creates wonderful vintage collegiate apparel for your favorite school, your significant other's favorite school, your parents' favorite school. You're gonna have a favorite school that Home Field supplies apparel for in some way, shape, or form. Is incredibly comfortable. They use sustainable materials. It's just really great. That's pretty much all I need to say. And because they sponsor the show, if you use the code NUNES10, you will get 10% off your entire order. They're also running a promotion that is pretty fantastic. So if you're new to Home Field and you do not have a Home Field apparel collection yet, if you use the promo code DANCE, if you spend $50, you get 10% off. If you spend $75, you get 15% off. And if you spend $100, you get 20% off. So it's free shipping for all orders over $70. So you should just spend at least $100. You get 20% off, free shipping. You're going to end up with some really quality collegiate apparel. And their Syracuse collection is pretty great. I've been wearing it all week because I'm a superstitious person who only wears Syracuse gear when they're in the NCAA tournament, which means I have another week of wearing Syracuse exclusive clothing. So I'm really glad I did the laundry tonight, and I can wear my Home Field hoodie because it was really dirty before today.
There you go.
Yeah. Also on the Home Field note, I just want to mention Connor, who Steve and I interviewed on this very live cast. He is a diehard Indiana basketball fan, and at some point in time during this weekend, everybody mentioned the fact that Tom Crean forgot how to coach against the 2-3 zone, and I tagged Connor in every single tweet. And did he get upset? Yes, he did. Does it matter? No, it does not, because Tom Crean does not know how to coach a 2-3 zone, and we reaped the benefits of it. Go 2-3 zone, go Jim Boeheim.
In another unfortunate nature is healing moment, apparently students are storming Castle.
Yes, they are currently. There's a video right now. Students are storming Castle Court in Syracuse singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads," which
that's amazing, and also get the hell back in your dorms. There's a goddamn pandemic still.
There's a pandemic.
I'm gonna go old man on the podcast because I'm the old man on the podcast.
Spread your arms, make sure you cannot touch anybody, and then sing "Take Me Home, Country Roads." That's it. That's all you gotta do. It's really not that hard. Those personal bubbles that you learned in like kindergarten, just execute those and you'll be fine. Yes. Again, as you said, Christian, nature is healing. Speaking of nature being healing, the women got some revenge. Christian, I'm pretty sure that we kind of talked about this, that you were a student when this South Dakota State first game happened when they upset the women in the Carrier Dome, which was just, wow. I remember that team being the heir apparent to the 2016 team that we talked about with Howard and McDell on the show. And the women came out, and the moment that I knew that they won, Tiana Mahakania hit a corner three, and just immediately went down the court and had her do not give a shit face on. Like that was the moment I was like, this team is locked in. The game got really close until Syracuse pulled ahead. They won pretty convincingly. However, which
The
one
big, however.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Christian, do you want to say the quiet part out loud of what happens when you beat South Dakota State?
Syracuse is an 8 seed. That means they get the 1 seed in the next matchup should the 1 seed win. More often than not in women's basketball, the 1 seed wins their first round matchup. It's UConn in this bracket. UConn's up 50-29 at half against High Point.
Yeah, we're gonna get UConn again.
Yay.
I will say that I watched I had, as everybody here did, because we are all technologically advanced in a way, we all had the second screens going. The number of times that the women's, the ESPN broadcast mentioned the title game from 2016, where the man, I understand that's how you're going to sell that game. You're going to probably put it in prime time, which is great for all Orange fans, considering that game's going to be Tuesday.
Yep.
That's my reaction to that. Is just scared sigh.
It's an unfortunate broadcaster crux. I've fallen into it when I've called games before, but you have those storylines that you kind of stick to. I mean, Nance and Rafter, you always stick to. No one can figure out the 2-3 zone. I mean, so like you'll. Yeah. I mean, broadcasters have that crux when you know it, especially in the NCAA tournament. You got to remember these broadcasters are calling 3 or 4 games a day, so like they don't have as much time to give the dedicated prep that you would to each and every team.
Yeah, and even the A team of Nance and Raftery, you still got to rely on something.
Yeah,
so, I can say I did not second screen it, but I have an excuse because I have a 3-year-old and a puppy. So a puppy we just got yesterday, so we're good. In other notes, I do have to say that I just noticed Rutgers is up 10 on Houston with 10 minutes left.
I was about to mention that also.
Yeah.
50-40 Rutgers with 10-43.
So we can come back to that later, but the women hosting it popped up, so I had to mention it. Like I don't know how this bracket is going to get any stupider. Speaking of stupid brackets, the women playing UConn on Tuesday just seems like this weird, sick NCAA joke of like, hey, let's line them up. It's the one time they don't have to seed regionally.
we had a lot of discussion in the Slack on Monday when the brackets were released about how the NCAA just sort of forgot how to imagine creativity in their bracket selection, because you got San Diego State, who Syracuse lost to the last time they played in the NCAA tournament, and then you have UConn because Syracuse always loses to UConn on the way to a tournament. 2016 and in 2017, I believe they lost to UConn.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It's frustrating because, again, we talked about it this year, but like, this team was probably better than an 8 seed. Like they're definitely, like, they're not loyal. Like, well, actually, here's my hot take. The women are probably the closest thing to loyal in the bracket, where like when they're clicking at all cylinders, they're probably closer to like a 3 and a 4 or 3-4 seed line. Now, we have not seen them click this year. Loyola was clicking at that point pretty much all year, and they just got underseeded. The women have that high-end potential. Underseeded. Right. Which, again, they'll only be underseeded until they play Syracuse. That is the law of the universe. That is the Pat 40 Yahoo, as Steve put it in the Slack earlier. That is the Middle Tennessee State,
correct? Or concept.
I just hate that Middle Tennessee is a team that we have to play in for both football and basketball. But yes, that's where I think the women are at. Like, do I think that they can beat UConn? UConn's a transcendental talent assembled this year after having a few down years. I don't know if the women have it. Can the women give them a game because they have the ability to hang with them? Of course they do. They just haven't done it to this point yet, so I don't know if they're going to do it to this point yet. Which is the unfortunate reality that we have talked about a bunch on this show. And I don't want to turn this into a preemptive eulogy, so I'm not going to talk about like what this. Again, I don't want to be this person.
We gather here today.
You're right. But what I do want to say is that this women team, led by Kiara Lewis, played 40 minutes. Tiana Mahakaya played 39 minutes. Digna Stoudemire played 40 minutes. Like, this team has some phenomenal high-end talent that I don't think people recognize because they're the women's basketball team. And I just want to call that out. Howard did a great job of calling it out on a grander level. I want to take this opportunity to call it out on a Syracuse level. This team is so insanely talented. The WNBA draft is scheduled for April. It's the first week of April, I think. So Howard seems to think that Syracuse will have one, if not two, players selected. Let's hope that that's the case, and we see Tiana get her pro chance. But this is the point where now I turn it over to the Christian Lacrosse Hour. Christian.
Before that, we're also going to have in the producer pouring through pages and stats and stuff.
Yes.
Could Cuse not have put Joe Girard as the big poster picture on their recap for the game?
I mean, it was too good not to pass up because it's a great picture, but
it is a great picture, but like,
he wasn't the reason he won. The reason they won is in our Slack, it was Marek Dolajai, and the fact that he now has his pizza means he was doing this game without his pizza. That should only make you more scared.
I really don't know if we're going to be able to. We won't be able to do it while he's a student. When he graduates, I really want to do a show with him where he eats a pizza, and it's just the show is the length of time it takes him to eat the pizza. So once he's done eating the pizza, the show is done. So like we have a ticking clock, and the clock you can literally watch the clock expire. Because...
And for anyone who's confused, we're not just talking a single slice of pizza. We're talking the whole pie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which this all started with the Michigan State game. Which was 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
I think it was the Wake Forest game in the ACC tournament when he had his breakout game. I was there for that because the lore was because that was at Barclays, and the post game meal was Marek taking an entire pie for himself.
And I want to say that it was not like a local pizzeria that has good pizza. It was like Little Caesars or Domino's, which I don't want to disrespect.
Or Michael Scott's favorite New York slice.
Marek. Steve can help out with this full exact list, but there are...
I thought you were going to ask about pizza shops in Syracuse.
No, this is where I'm going. Like, you could give him a list of pizza shops that are significantly better than any chain. It's not that hard. Like, I had 3 when I was there, and one has closed down. The biggest one is Varsity. Like, come on. Like, Varsity slices are New York slices, as close as you're going to get. So.
Well, yeah. We'll agree to disagree.
We'll get Marek we'll have Marek sponsor the NunesMagician pizza bracket this offseason.
Yeah, we just dropped some Twin Trees. Twin Trees just opened up a spot up the road from us, so we just had that for game time.
I have never had Twin Trees, so I cannot actually. So that's probably why my ignorance is where it's at.
We got to get you off the hill, buddy. We got to get you off the hill.
Oh, I cannot wait to get yelled at food bloggers this summer.
Remember, we're inconsequential to them also.
We really are. Cannot wait till Christina Cholik ends up in my DMs apologizing for all of that is the story for another day. They're all really nice. They just got a little bit heated about my hill-centric takes.
I mean, to be fair, and anyone who's listening can probably attest to this, I warned Andy ahead of time on all this, and I told him to run it by me, and he hit publish. So he can only blame himself.
I really can, but I'm also a glutton for punishment. Mike Held, you're watching this. You know me. I've never made good decisions. This is where I'm at. But one good decision that I will make is handing off all lacrosse talk to Christian. All I know is that the men's lacrosse team played a Holy team. Was it Holy Cross?
It was indeed Holy Cross.
Yay!
Congratulations.
You won. That's all I know.
Yeah. They were supposed to play Hofstra, but Hofstra is on COVID pause. So this was the last-minute game. And before we get to Holy Cross, we do have to mention, because we mentioned this a lot in the lacrosse world, number 10 Lehigh was also available for a game. and a lot of people really wanted to see that matchup. Like
How
Paul
come?
Carcaterra and Ishroff, a lot of people on the Twitterverse in the lacrosse Twitterverse wanted to see Cuse versus Lehigh.
Yeah.
What is it? Just because it's like a top 10 game,
Yeah,
or was there? Okay.
yeah, no, it's a top 10 game. Both teams were free because both teams had their opponents canceled due to COVID pause. I'm not sure who Lehigh's was, but like that would have been a top 10 game. Lehigh's first, probably Lehigh's first time playing Cuse. It would have been awesome, but no, Syracuse went for the tune-up option for Thursday's game. We'll get to Thursday's game in a bit, um, but this was a tune-up game. And as John wrote in his piece, this was a game that Syracuse needed to have in order to kind of fix some of the mistakes that were happening as the season started to develop. And the big one was getting Chase Scanlon going, and he had that game last year in the opener against Colgate where he scored 7 goals, and he got 7 goals today on Saturday against Holy Cross, and that was a much needed game for him just to see the ball go in the back of the net. He still doesn't have the same zip on his shots um, that he had last year, but consider the fact that Holy Cross's goalie played out of his skin. Like he made 14 saves on and 14 goals allowed. I mean, he made 18 saves and 14 goals allowed. Like he had an excellent game. AJ Fox did for Holy Cross, and the fact that Scanlon was able to get 7 past him is great because they need him to get going. They need another option at attack to keep the ACC opponents guessing. So to see that was good. To see Owen Hiltz have a variety performance was good as well because he's had 4 goals his past 2 games. He only had 1 goal today, which might seem bad, but he had 5 assists, which is just so important to see that diversity from your attackmen. Kind of odd to see Brendan Curry and Tucker Gordovic not have any points, but that was just because again Holy Cross's goalie was just literally playing out of his skin. Drake Porter didn't need to do anything, which was awesome. Like, let me read out the shot difference. So Syracuse took 65. Like Steve, you'll relate to this as a FIFA player when you know those games where, like, fortunately this didn't happen for Syracuse, but where you outshoot your opponent 20-5 and they win 1-0.
100%.
So Syracuse took 65 shots. Holy Cross took 20. Um, yeah. Syracuse had 34 shots on goal. Syracuse had more shots on goal than Holy Cross had shots.
Syracuse shots on goal almost doubled their shots.
Exactly. So like, it was a good day for Syracuse to at least try and get the ball in the back of the net. So like they had their chances at least. But again, it's Holy Cross's goalkeeper just had a great game, and this, like I said, it was just a tune-up game really for what's coming up on Thursday, when Syracuse goes to play right now number 2 Duke, and Syracuse finds its first test of the season against Duke when you go up against Michael Sowers and Brendan O'Neill and Akil Montgomery, and then on defense when you have to deal against JT Giles Harris, like. This is a Duke team that's going to test Syracuse on both sides of the field. More so, their attack against our defense, and that's going to be the X factor in this game. The Duke attack. How well do they exploit the Syracuse defense so that Drake Porter's All-American performance this year gets nullified?
Yeah, I feel like next weekend is the Dream March Syracuse weekend where you have Premier Lacrosse weekend. This is my transition, Steve. Do not worry, I'm getting there. We have men's basketball playing. Women's basketball probably won't be playing, but if they do, holy crap, we're all going to be paying attention to them. And spring football! Air horn, air horn, air horn, air horn, air horn. Steve, as the former football player, there's no spring game set yet because Syracuse is probably trying to figure out a way to work around COVID restrictions to have fans, to have something going on. They don't need to have a spring game, but they probably will. Their spring practice is starting later than every other ACC school. What is spring ball, and why is it important?
So, I guess when you look at the end of the season, coaches technically can't meet with the players on a field, like formally, all the way through until spring ball. So it's first chance to actually get on the field, and I phrase it that way because through that whole thing you're running captain's practices and various other get-togethers to keep practicing without practicing because you can't say you're practicing because the NCAA is the NCAA. Because you have to be an amateur, even though you're still in the weight room at 6 in the morning and running sprints whenever, and yeah, whole different rant for a different day. But once you get together formally for spring ball, you are able to actually get on the field with actual coaches and instill actual pieces of the offense or defense that you need to work on. New wrinkles. First time getting to work with a lot of the players that came in January, especially at this level. So it really is huge for a squad to kind of take that next step towards moving towards next season. You also get your first look at what a offseason of strength and conditioning has done to the team. So basically, it's just kind of a good way to get eyes. So.
And in general, like, there's a lot going on with the Syracuse football program. Just in off season where there's a lot of moving parts going on. But I'm going to bring this back to the offensive line because that is what this show does. How important is a spring practice session for building cohesion among units that need cohesion? The offensive line being the extreme of that end. Other units need that, but like the offensive line is the one that everybody points to. That is a 5-person unit versus other position groups.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, every other group, it also helps out, but getting the line together, and in the case of our defense, getting the DBs together, you have another 5-man team effectively of defensive backs that need to learn how to communicate, need to learn their markings. Same thing with the offensive line. You've got to figure out who's where, work on chemistry. The added practices, the added time together, there's nothing but benefit from it, and you can see some patterns start to emerge, see some of the young guys start to bloom a little. So
yeah, what's the Christian, like we've kind of talked about in the Slack, there's lots of players potentially still coming out for Syracuse, but ultimately I think the team that we have is the team that we're going to get. What position group are you, if we get a spring game, like what position group are you going to be like hyper focused on, looking for either one, improvement, or two, I have no idea what to expect out of this group, so I just need to see them in person before I can like pass judgment on them?
I'd love to say just offense, just push it at you and say yes, because you could literally say offense for every single position. Like, let's start from the top. Quarterback. How does Garrett Schrader look? Does he look like Eric Dungy 2.0, like a lot of fans have christened him to be? Does Justin Lampson look like Eric Dungy 2.0, as a lot of fans have also christened him to be? Let's go to running back. Have Abdul Adams and Javion Howard taking a step back, and are they going to be suitable backups for Sean Tucker to really diversify the Orange running attack? Wide receiver, what does it look like without Nykeem Johnson? Is Taj Harris finally going to play the slot on every snap? I'm looking at you, Syracuse. Tight ends, are you going to finally throw the damn ball to the tight ends?
no.
Offensive line, Steve can get angry at that.
Yeah, I will.
But like offensive line, who's going to play at offensive line? Where
Right.
are you going to play at offensive line? Like it literally could just be offense and point it out and push it. And it's great to say, and it's great to, in a way, to say that and not say defense, because you would think with Iffy and Cisco and True Williams all leaving, you'd think there'd be more questions on defense. Don't get me wrong, the defensive backs still are going to be an issue, but you're less worried about that group, especially with the job that Tony White has done in his first year, than you are about the offensive consistency coming.
Yeah, and I mean, you do still have whoever's going to be the corner opposite of Garrett Williams. That's going to be a question mark, and probably we'll find out in the spring depth chart who Dino thinks it is. But
that spring depth is going to be fun to break down.
That's going to be great.
We're gonna
Well-
need to devote a special episode just for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, that's gonna be magic. But you look at, like Christian said, you have that DB core that you would expect to have been, flipped on its head, but because all of those extremely talented guys left early in the year, not intentionally, but Trill didn't make it through the year. Cisco got hurt very early in the year, if he stayed healthy, but that got a lot of those freshmen run in the safeties packages, and it's really gonna, like, the question isn't whether whoever's going to play is capable, it's going to be who is going to play, because we've already seen most of them are capable. So that's a weird nice thing to see.
And the only question we have is, has the extra time allowed them to actually get in the weight room?
Right.
So, I mean, that's
is
the only
Rob
question
Hanna going to be
that's the
over
only question.
140 pounds soaking wet with a cinder block tied to him?
Do we need to put Rob Hanna on the Marek Dolezal diet?
You follow Marek around, eat every pizza he does.
I was gonna say this was a great transition, because we need to talk about the pro day, and that is our last topic for tonight. Is that Syracuse football had their pro day, which is a big deal in the fact that this is when we kind of get a good idea on which players are going pro, which players are going to stay around. Luckily, this year was actually pretty boring in the sense that all the players that participated are players that are either no longer with the program or have already declared that they're going to go pro. But speaking of diets, I forget what Cisco looks like, because every time he shows up in a photo, he gets bigger. It is terrifying. That guy looks like a linebacker, and he's playing safety. I just want to throw that. That's really all I have on it, because it's close to the media. Boo.
Yeah.
Please change this at some point.
I'm sure they will post-COVID.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, other schools allow media. They show video at least of it.
Yeah.
They want to get it out there to as many people as possible, because it's in the best interest of the players.
Some schools air it.
Yeah.
This is also accurate.
The one thing I do want to say about the Andre Cisco diet, though, is apparently whatever he was doing, he also told Josh Black, because holy
Josh
God,
Black, holy crap!
Like, this is the guy who did a backflip and impressed The Rock, and then he just decided to take all that and make it cut.
So the DBs, look at what Cisco did. Look at what Josh Black did. Do that.
Yeah. Go hang out with those two for a while.
I was gonna say, we're gonna transition really like pro day. Great. We can't really say much more about it other than Cisco looks cut. Trill is positioning himself to be the first of the few positionless NFL defensive back players that are coming of age in this new defensive scheme. Good for them. They're going to get drafted. I don't know where. We'll wait until closer to the draft day. There was a video put out by SU Strength and Conditioning, the gem of all hidden gems
Oh,
of the bench press stuff. Josh Black is really strong and big now. There are some other players on that video. Steve, you can critique their form all you want, but just for right now, yes, I'm
glad you remembered that.
Yep, it's gonna stay in my head. I just from like your perspective, like it feels like the some players are like finally making like the big boy jump. Like at the D1 level, you're kind of expected to do this shit, and that we're seeing video of them doing it. As they post these dumb hype videos, because we're going to see a lot of them in the offseason, we're going to see players lifting lots of big amounts, we're going to see different things. What is the noise, what is the signal among this noise of off-season hype workout videos?
and see.
Yeah. It's weird, because a lot of times, you need the strength, but the strength doesn't mean everything. And to see these guys coming out and throwing up giant bench press numbers, I'm kind of glad it's mostly the offensive linemen and, Josh Black, because if it was, some others, it'd be like, guys, work a little where you need to work instead of there. But, I don't know. They've put out I pulled up their Twitter page, and they pulled out a bunch of hype videos, and it's all just raw. Like, give me some cleans, give me some, agility drills, give me more of the conditioning part of strength and conditioning. I love watching people lift heavy things. I did it a lot. That's not our problem.
That is very accurate. We gotta be able to move right to left, which Buddy Boeheim has figured out how to do on the top of the zone.
He did. It's been great.
So I'm going to say this: we are officially not officially out of time. We could go for forever, but we've reached the topics that we need to cover, and we have a busy ass week coming up at NunesMagician. Christian is going to be writing a bunch of breaking news articles that are inevitably going to come up, and also writing some analysis pieces on this past game that we just saw against West Virginia, the upcoming game against maybe Rutgers. Does anybody have an eye on the scoreboard right now?
3-point lead for Rutgers, 1:48 left in the period.
If you want, we can vamp till the end so you have an answer, but I don't think we're going to do that.
We're not going to do that because it could take 20 minutes based off of how these refs are calling these games lately.
Oh, good lord.
Topic for another day. But we will be here. Christian's going to have some analysis. Steve will be doing the football updates, and we will also probably have Steve jumping on some other things because Steve is the I have a weird flexible schedule, so therefore I will jump in where I can.
Mm-hmm.
Same with me.
Yeah, but before we go, before we end this, I do want to mention this because this is important, and I hate to end this great cast on such a note, but I do have to. Unfortunately, we have to talk about Cuse men's lacrosse did lose an icon in their program.
Yes.
Rob Kavovit, unfortunately, unexpectedly passed away this Wednesday. He is one of 4 players to tally 125 goals and 120 assists in his career at Syracuse. The other 3 have the last name Powell. So
yeah.
And he was a dear friend on the mid '90s teams that won 2 national championships. Dear friend of Paul Carcaterra, who had a beautiful eulogy and remembrance speech for him on the broadcast. So we want to say prayers out to the Kavovit family, an icon that's unfortunately missed in the men's lacrosse family.
Yep, that is a great point, and I think it something that we saw during the men's games. There were a lot of alumni who made their way to Indianapolis and found tickets. It's something that we've seen continually with the programs, both men's, women's, across all sports. Once you end up in this Orange family, you're kind of stuck here, whether you like it or not. And it's a really sad passing, and his family will forever be Orange, and he will forever be Orange. And I hope, and prayers out to his family, prayers out to his teammates too. Losing a teammate is always difficult, and that group especially, as you mentioned, Christian, they were so close knit. They were era defining for Syracuse, and I hope that they are all doing well in these times, and I hope they could find some joy in this men's lacrosse team that is kicking ass and taking names in a way that we've all wanted them to do. So, yes, not to end it on a down note, but like, man, this was a weekend. This was the Syracuse
weekend. Yeah.
This was the weekend that we expected to get in like November that we never got.
There's a tweet in our Slack that we can end it on a high note with that James shared. So the fate of the ACC now rests in the hands of the Boeheim family.
This is why you invited us.
This, my friends, is why we can't have nice things.
We cannot. No, we are the worst with nice things.
And I would like to say one thing before we leave. We're sorry.
We're so sorry.
We're so sorry. And to perfectly ended up to Georgetown, who still sucks.
Oh boy. We'll see you all next week, and go Orange.
Go Orange.
Go Orange.